Hello and welcome to the Football 301 fifth quarter. We are going to recap the Sunday morning and afternoon slate. I am Nate Tice. To help me recap these games is my guy, Mr. Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing all right. You know, fantasy football kicking my ass, but the rest of the day, well, I guess kind of kicking my ass like the rest of the day because that was the theme of the games today. But I'm doing all right.
Yeah, we had a sloppy morning slate, but actually turned out to be fairly entertaining. We got a juicy slate of afternoon games that a little mixed bag. Some stuff happened, but we're going to jump right into it to one of those afternoon games. Game one of the fifth quarter that Charles and I will be breaking down. Bills beat the Lions in another points fest with the Bills. They are the firework factory team. I mean, I'm all for it. Let's just do this. Can you guys play in the dome for the rest of the year? I mean, they're trying to, but Bills win 48-42, move on to 11-3. Josh Allen, again, having a huge day, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, 69 rushing yards. Nice. Brett puts in nice. A TD rushing. James Cook with 14 rushes for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson gets in there. I mean, the Lions put up some points too. Jared Goff apparently almost had 500 yards, which I'm looking around going, wait, oh, you did? For 5 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown went for 193 and 1 touchdown. Sam Laporta went 7 catches for 111 yards. And Jahmyr Gibbs had a big day receiving. Charles, watching this game, watching the Bills take the Lions. And you said this after Sunday when we broke down that other entertaining Bills game with Bills-Rams. You said you had no issues with where the Bills were at right now. You said, hey, this is just one of those kind of games. You still feel that way, obviously, after another kind of back and forth win.
I mean, it's kind of tough to swallow 40 points allowed back-to-back weeks, but you also scored 40 points again back-to-back weeks. So you came out on top this time. We look at the final score, 48-42. I don't think it was really quite that close. Although it's kind of hard to say that about a game that came down to the final possession. It never felt like
shaky onside kick recovery at the end.
Right. It never actually felt like the Bills were in danger of losing this one though, because I think the Lions comeback started just a little bit too late, but I mean, they were able to get it down to 6 points by the end of it. But holy crap, Josh Allen was just on fire today. Like, that was just unbelievable. He averaged 0.54 EP per drop back, 61% success rate, 26.5% explosive pass rate. I mean, that's just MVP numbers, fake like Madden stuff that you don't really see. And now he's done it back-to-back weeks. I shudder to think, like, right now where this Bills team would be if you just plucked them off the team, because they're not playing a lick of defense right now. Like, I know they started off in the first half like, oh, okay, maybe last week was kind of an aberration, and then you get to the second half and how many points did the line score in the second half? It scored 28 points in the second half to get it down to a 6-point game by the end of it. But I mean, the fact that you can survive a team scoring 28 points in the second half and you still feel like you have a comfortable push cushion, I mean, that's all coming back to what Josh Allen's doing right now. I do feel for the Lions a bit because they're so banged up on defense. Like, they just running out of bodies. McNeil got hurt again today. James Cook had a couple nice runs up the middle. I mean, you can see where they were trying to attack them where they were soft with injuries. But, that's the name of the game. They're probably going to be in this state, maybe a little bit healthier by the time they start playing their playoff games. So I hope this isn't Achilles heel on what's been a really fun team. But, man, it's kind of tough to parse it when you just see 48 points zoomed up and down the field like it was no problem today.
The good news, I'll tell Detroit Lions fans, you're not playing Josh Allen in the playoffs again.
That is right.
Unless you make the Super Bowl. So I will say that's a good thing. I mean, one of the questions we had was, how does Josh Allen and the Bills team do against man coverage? Because that's what the Lions are going to play. They're going to challenge them. And Josh Allen proceeded to have his second best game ever against man coverage. He went 14 of 18, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 11 yards a pop, 150 missionary position QB rating, old school QB rating. He generated 17.6 EPA today against man coverage. That's the second most ever he's had in a game. 70% success rate on 20 dropbacks against man coverage today. That's his second best game with 15 or more dropbacks. First, if you just do 20 or more dropbacks. So, I mean, I guess engaged Josh Allen, not engaged like engaged mentally, but literally engaged to a woman, to a partner. Josh Allen, I guess, is just leveled up to a new supernova thing that I guess we have to grasp because he's playing phenomenal. And that one throw he had, break and contain, the laser to, was it Amari Cooper? Or it might have been Keon. It might have been Keon Coleman
on the sideline.
It was Keon Coleman. That thing was one of the coolest throws I've seen in a long time. I mean, just on the run and just line drives of 50-something yards on just on a rope and puts it right on his chest. Yeah, that one of the cooler throws you'll ever see. He's playing really well. I mean, this offense I trust as much as anyone, as any unit right now, as far as like what they can get done and how they're going to look in the playoffs, because they're weatherproof. Their quarterback's weatherproof and their run game's weatherproof. Their O-line's playing well. Spencer Brown, the right tackle, I got to shout out because I used to think he was nothing, too skinny, not really my type, a little finessey. He has turned into like a very good right tackle, like very good, not just improved, but improved several levels. So I wanted to give him a shout out. I think he got banged up at the end. I was watching this game and I couldn't believe the Goff stats, but the Bills did a really good job of corralling the Lions run game. This was their lowest EPA per rush, lowest yards per carry. They only had one explosive run, which is saying something against Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in that run game. Only 30% success rate, which is the second lowest for the Lions this season. So that's huge for the Bills, especially, I was a little worried about that. Oh, you guys want to play light bodies and play all that soft coverage? It was soft being like cover 2 and stuff. And okay, we'll see how you do. They mixed in some more man coverage in the first half, and they got Goff a couple times. They kind of fooled him. He got him a little bit in the second half, but yeah, they blitzed him a decent amount in the first half too. So cool to see the Bills add some layers, even if they got a few times. Yeah. But I think the kind of Lions will do that to anybody. But like you said, the Lions defense is just, you feel kind of, you're like, man, like, just health. It's not scheme or their base talent level. It's just now that they're on their second and third guys, and David Long's starting for them. They signed him. He got cut by the Dolphins a few weeks ago. Like, that's just where they're at. And it just kind of stinks for them because they're playing such good ball.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what to make of like this second half from the Lions, because when they were down 35-14, I was like, oh my God, negative script, Jared Goff, like this is done. And then in the second half, like, they kind of got back into the game to a degree. In the second half, Jared Goff, 60% third and long conversion rate. Just, I don't really know what to make of that because it's hard to repeat. But in a single game, it kind of maybe alleviates some concerns. What can happen in the playoff if the Lions get down big and they're stuck? So, interesting game for the Lions. But yeah, 48 points, it's going to be tough, even when you score 42.
Yeah, no, with Goff doing that, that's like, you hope to see it, but just hopefully he's not like in those dire of circumstances. The last thing too was I was curious if they would dust off the Josh Allen design run stuff, and they did. They had the QB sneak for a touchdown. He had like a 22-yarder, an 8-yarder. He had 3 scrambles for 2 first downs. So I also saw that. But no, what you're saying with the Lions and throwing it, like, I mean, they were still Amon-Ra St. Brown catches. It's still tough to corral them for 4 quarters, even if they have a bad game script. So, no, really entertaining game. I think these are 2 very good teams. I just want the Lions to get healthy so I can feel really good about them right now. I'm just like, all right, just get healthy, and then we can maybe treat you differently once they hit the playoffs.
I have some bad breaking news if you want it.
Oh, what's that?
Dan Campbell told reporters that McNeil and Carlton Davis are probably out for the rest of the season.
Oh, wow.
That's bad.
Davis, too.
Yeah, both of them. Ali McNeil and Carlton
Davis. McNeil's like an all-pro this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean,
maybe they will give up 40 points every game.
Maybe this is the rest of the way. Man, that's
brutal.
Man, they were the class of the class. Yeah, that stinks. Going on to the second game, another AFC NFC tilt, the Battle of Pennsylvania. We got the Steelers went to Philadelphia. They lost 17-27 to the Eagles. Eagles are now 12-2, pulling off that win. This was a kind of, I don't know. I feel like we nailed this one in our pre-show, if I'm being honest. Like, Steelers just didn't have enough on offense to keep up with them for 4 quarters. And even if the Steelers defense was pretty good, do feel that Eagles offense is just the Enron offense. They're just too big to fail. But when you watch this game a little bit, Charles, what were some of your takeaways with the Eagles winning 27-17?
I kind of lost like all faith that the Steelers could potentially win a couple of games in the playoffs. that was I know the score says 27-13, but that was a beatdown, man. That was a beatdown. Because even in the first half where the Eagles got that touchdown, I don't think they would have gotten it without with some fumble help, or maybe there was another score. There was a field goal right before halftime. That was it, where they got the fumble luck to make it 17-13, and then they never really did anything with the football again. There's a point where I had looked at their average distance on third down, and I feel like this one just kind of explained the game away. The Steelers had 11.5 yards to go on third down, which is just, dude, you're playing against this defense. It's never going to fly. Najee Harris also had a terrible fumble when the Eagles were in scoring range, and it looked like that was a drive where maybe they were starting to put something together because they had the big shot play to Calvin Austin, and they were moving the ball a little bit, and then I don't know what happened. The ball hit him right in the chest on the toss. It was about as routine a toss play as you'll see right there, and it just bounced off his chest, and that was that. And I feel like the way I felt about this Steelers team, as they got down to 2 possessions in the second half, I was like, oh, they're never going to get back in this. Which to me, they're probably not good enough to win a playoff game. The offense is really bad. I think today showed how limited they are. Couldn't really run the ball. If they couldn't run the ball, that means they weren't able to pass it. Najee Harris had 6 carries for 14 yards. Jalen Warren had 4 carries for 12 yards. Russ himself had 4 for 13. I mean, they were just getting killed on the ground. And then on the flip side, I don't know what their man zone splits were like, but A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith absolutely shredded them today. So yeah, that was a tough game to swallow, I think, if you're a Steelers fan, because it showed that you probably are as limited as people maybe guess that you are.
Your eye test was exactly right. Jalen Hurts against man coverage, 11 of 13, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 yards a pop. He got sacked 3 times today. It was all against zone coverage. So it was, which, I mean, it's kind of how it goes. I mean, zone coverage was much better for the Steelers defense. Looking at it, Hurts the stats that came out. I actually thought he ran the ball quite well today, especially as a scrambler. And then what you brought up about the Steelers run game. I looked it up. Even Cordell Patterson went 2 carries for 9 yards on top of the ones you listed. They only had 4 successful runs to a running backs the entire game. They had 3 stuffs, which is a 0-yard gain or a negative gain, but they almost had as many stuffs as they had successful runs. 12 runs for 35 yards to your running backs. The Steelers formula is that they have to average 4 yards a pop. I can honestly tell you how their game goes based on their yards per carry, just their running backs. It's like, did you get 4? No? All right. You lost. Odds are. And their formula, if you didn't have, it's running the ball and explosive passes. This is just, and they only had 2 explosive passes, 2 explosive plays, and they're both explosive passes. Again, they've been averaging about 7 explosive plays a game. And they just can't win this way unless they get 5 turnovers and some crazy Tomlin magic happens, which started to happen at the end of the half. But then, like you said, I mean, just nothing really came away throughout the game. Steelers ran 41 plays, only averaged 4 yards per play, fewest of the season, 163 total yards, 10 first downs, all the lowest. The lowest before that was 15, fewest before that. Easily lowest EPA per play. This Eagles defense just stomped them, just absolutely squashed them in this game. And then thought the Eagles offense just kind of took care of business. Hurts didn't make any mistakes. It wasn't sometimes pretty and what maybe some frustrating stretches, but this team can run on anybody. If Hurts isn't playing catastrophic ball or frozen ball like he was against last week against the Panthers, where he's like, I don't even want to throw it. Here he was at least getting the ball out of his hands and made a couple nice decisions. He had I would call it a performative middle throw on the first drive. He hit the seam bender, and then he never threw over the middle again the rest of the game. So that's a classic all meeting all week. They're like, throw it over the middle, throw it over the middle, throw it over the middle. He goes, I did it. All right, now we're not going to do it the rest of the game. But Nick Sirianni tried to fight his defensive line coach. Just another normal week for the Philadelphia Eagles as they win by 2 scores. Again, just cannot have a normal week in Philadelphia.
Dude, the second half for the Steelers was just embarrassing, I think. The Eagles, they ran 11 plays in the second half. The Eagles did. I mean, excuse me, the Steelers did. The Steelers ran 11 plays in the second half. The Eagles ran 47. In the second half, the Steelers only touched the ball 2 times, and the Eagles had drives of 13 plays, 47 yards, 13 plays, 74 yards, and then a 10-minute, 29-second, 21-play, 88-yard drive to close the game out. They didn't give the ball away for the last 10 minutes of the game on one drive and just stomped it out. That is like, on Army-Navy weekend, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's how you close it out. Give the troops a salute. 47-11 in terms of plays were in the second half. That is crazy.
Just because Army-Navy was it was at FedEx Field this weekend doesn't mean couldn't be at the link. That's why this should be in Philly every week. That's such a great call. No, those are what I call lion tamer drives. Chris Jericho put them in the lion tamer, and that's how they just milked out those drives.
Dude, oh man! At the end, when you're on defense and the offense is lined up to play 17, bro, get me the hell out of here. Get me out of this game.
or they score and then they go for 2. I wonder what the percentage is. 10 player or more drive. What was the 2-point play afterwards? Like almost a guaranteed lock because the defense is just like, yeah, I'm good. Out. Get me out of here. All right. We're going to take our first break and then we'll be back with Colts Broncos and Commanders Saints sneaking in here in the 5th quarter. All right. We are back. And this game had gigantic playoff implications. The Broncos take home the victory against the Colts, 31-13. Had some flashbacks for a while to that. I don't know. I was about to say great, but I would say notorious Thursday night game last year between the Colts and Broncos. I don't know if you remember that one. It was like a 10-7 slog. Like it was just one of the worst football games I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. So that might have been 2 years ago because Matt Ryan was playing.
That was the fake Matt Ryan season when he didn't actually.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Yeah. The Matt Ryan season that never happened. Just one in 10 years, we see the jersey and we go, oh yeah, that's right. It's like Joe Montana. We're in 19. Bo Nix. The Colts just had some brutal turnovers. And Bo Nix had a couple interceptions as well. Kind of one of those where it was who made mistakes the least, the least amount of times is the one that won this game. Had some great returns from the Broncos special teams, really Marvin Mims on the punt return unit. The Broncos average starting field position was the 5th best by any team in a game this season. They averaged starting the ball at their own 43-yard line. That's a good formula to win a game when you start the ball on your average, your own 43-yard line. Like I said, it was the 5th best by any team this year. When you watch this game, Chuck, this Broncos win, get a stranglehold on playoff position. What were some of your takeaways?
Just sad.
Yeah, it was ugly.
That was just bad. Bad. Because they had a chance in the second half to win that game, and they just
did. They were about to go up 20-7.
20-7, yes. And they just decided to take a 12 gauge out their back pocket and point at their feet and just start blowing off their toes one by one. The Jonathan Taylor fumble, are you kidding me, dude? How are we still doing this? It happened twice today. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I still feel like I see it in college football every week too. Just run across the damn. You know how many people would be so grateful to score a touchdown? Think of all your lineman teammates; they'll never get to score one, and you're out here dropping on like the 1-yard line. And for everyone who out here, zero.
Yeah, this is coming from a place.
Yeah, I had 1 interception ever, and I was so surprised I caught the ball that I basically just immediately fell to the ground.
Especially with those big lineman gloves you guys would wear.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? The ball's in my hand. It was like on a screen pass, and I was like, oh, okay. But man, like you're right there, and for all the people who are just like, oh, we need to get rid of the fumble touchback rule. No, just for that exactly right there. You have to be punished for not just strolling into the end zone. You have gone up 20-7, and then I started playing around with the New York Times playoff machine where they give you like the live odds. If everything else had gone the same exact way today, like all of the results were the same, but the Colts had beat the Broncos, they would have had a 76% chance to make the playoffs.
It's even better than they had going in.
Right. God. And now they have a 17% chance to make the playoffs after that game. And it wasn't just it wasn't all Jonathan Taylor. I mean, dude, the offense is just in a really bad spot right now. I think they had like a 30% success rate today. It wasn't Anthony Richardson's best game. It wasn't the wide receiver's best games. Right. No rhythm, sloppy play. And just to have like control of that game for 2.5 quarters and to basically just let your season slip down the drain by the end. I think the Colts should be really embarrassed by that. That was really, really bad football for them.
I thought they were in control for most of this game. And then, I mean, the Broncos just started squeezing them at the end, and like, credit to them. Like, Sean Payton had his haymakers and everything, but like, I thought Gus Bradley, this was the best coach game he had all year. I actually thought they were playing fast. They were on top of all the stuff. But I mean, let's just break down these Colts turnovers they had. Richardson he sails the one corner throw and he throws an interception. It was right after he had a really nice run where he kind of broke out of like 5 tackles. He gets too hyped up. I'm realizing this. When he has some of those plays where he's doing the hero ball, that next throw, you have no idea where it's going. It's either going to hit the guy break his face mask because it hits the guy dead on the money, or it goes 10 yards over the guy's head. Michael Pittman fumbles on a would-be first down. Another great Anthony Richardson play. He's getting tackled, and as he's getting tackled, he throws it. Pittman gets the first down, then fumbles. Jonathan Taylor fumble, which would have been a touchdown because he was trying to get into his dance. It's like, come on, man. I don't get why. It was like, come on. I didn't know how to get past the line and then get into it. Just make sure you just score. And then the turnover that returned for a touchdown, they ended up calling a fumble where they threw it to A.D. Mitchell. It was a gadget play. He was throwing it back. And Nick Bonito picks it off. Or I guess it was a fumble recovery for a touchdown. But I actually thought, like I said, this Colts defense was playing well. They held the Broncos to their lowest success rate since week 4. Lowest EPA per play, all that stuff, 193 total yards, lowest yards per play of the season, fewest explosive plays, all this stuff. But you can't turn the ball over like that in a game like this. And then the Broncos, Marvin Mims had those good returns, really good returns, and set up the good field position. Also, Patrick Surtain did his thing. He was only targeted 3 times. 28 coverage snaps, 0 catches allowed, and he had a pick. Sweet pick, too. Fell off.
So good. So good.
I know. Well, when you want to know what an elite corner looks like, that pick right there, where they can fall off the flat route and jump underneath another one and high point it. Yeah, that's what it looks like. But, I mean, that Broncos defense is really good. Their offense, there was a feisty Colts defense, but the Colts just made a lot of mistakes. That's kind of really was my takeaways from this game. So, yeah, going on to a team that helped out their playoff case. That's the Commanders, coming out with a win, 20-19, as the Saints rallied and went for 2 to try and win the game. Did not get it. Wonky game. Commanders stormed out early. Jane Daniels finishes with 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, 66 rushing yards. He had one really nice scramble on 3rd and long that I really liked. Scary Terry had a couple touchdowns. Jake Hayner gets benched after throwing a pick and getting sacked a few times. Spencer Rattler comes in, kind of up and down, but has a couple nice throws. Ends up with 35 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, he went for a touchdown to Moreau, which was nice little drive, but they couldn't get the 2-point. All right, what were some of your takeaways from this? Kind of ended up being a very entertaining second half, I thought.
It did. And I will begrudgingly thank the Saints for putting Rattler in, because Hayner, woof. He's getting his butt kicked out there. He only had 49 passing yards. He lost 29 yards to sacks. He had the new age QBR. He had a 2.4 out of 100. So rocks. And another thing that I noticed during the game that I actually didn't count till just now. I was like, damn, like, it seems like there's a lot of sacks in this game. And there were. Jaden Daniels was sacked 8 times. Jake Hayner was sacked another 3 times. So that's 11 combined sacks between the two of them. I know Jaden Daniels, like, he has some nice plays in this game, and he's a big reason why they even have a chance to make the playoffs after the year that they had last year. But man, 8 sacks, dude, against the Saints, like, you probably just want to take a little bit better care of yourself, because that's a team that has no business getting 8 sacks in anyone, even if you're, a rookie quarterback trying to get things moving. So this was a physical game, man.
It was.
Yeah, the Brian Robinson stat that I did want to bring up was he had 21 carries for 65 yards, and his longest carry was 20 yards. So on the other 20 carries, he had 45 yards, just sledgehammer. Every play, you're in some sort of pain. Just
and then that helmet grade.
Yeah. And I really do appreciate who's the Saints interim coach right now, Rizzy.
Rizzy, the Rizzler.
The Rizzler. Going for a 2 on the end. Like, let's not go into overtime. We've suffered through Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler to get to this point. Miraculously, we are down. They roared back from down like 20-7 or something like that, and they got to the end and they just couldn't get it. But I really do respect going for 2 because no one needed to see a second of overtime from that game. Just move on, win or lose, and keep it pushing to the end of the season.
Yeah, it was very ugly for the Saints offense. It was like ugliness combined with like 2 awesome plays that happened. Like the Kamara touchdown was awesome. And there's like a couple nice runs in the second half, but still have plenty of questions about that Commanders defense. I want to see him against like a real boy. Can they go against an offense like where I can actually gauge them and judge them and like see how they actually are? I thought Daniels and the Commanders offense had a nice start, and their run game consistently continues to be good. You just brought up the Brian Robinson stuff. Like, it was, hammerhead ball, but he had 10 successful runs on 21 carries. It's just that it's ugly hammerhead ball. The other thing was Jane Daniels had 7 carries today where he reached 15 miles an hour or more. Dude can roll. And I thought their 3rd and longs, and he's a part of some of their success, but also sometimes some of their inconsistencies, is he's just looking for scramble lanes, and it works for him. He's going to find the underneath throw. If it's not there, he's looking for a scramble. And here's a perfect game where I was like, no, this is a great time to do it. Like, if they're getting everyone's getting washed down, all right, find it. It's a 3rd and 12. We got to spark the offense a little bit. But the 8 sacks, I did think there's a couple times you could have got rid of the ball a little bit quicker. When Matt and I were breaking down all the rookie quarterbacks, had noticed that his sack rate and kind of pressure to sack rate have kind of slowly risen over the last month or so. Some of that's the rib injury, but I don't know. I didn't really see rib injury play, quote unquote, today. There was some of the slogs once they got off that opening kind of script with this offense. So, but I did think there were some nice moments with it. Still some nice balls. Him and Terry McLaurin got fantastic chemistry. Like, they trust each other all the way. I thought Daniel's first touchdown was sweet on the extended play. Kind of breaks it down in the red zone and everything. But
second one was a nice ball too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, really just wonky game. Like, it's just one of the. It feels like Superdome games can kind of just be like that. He also had Daniels had a nice Johnny Knoxville play on 4th and 1. We got to see a little flip out of him. So it's not all the way out of him, some of that, how he played in college. But no, it was, just a wonky one. Saints kind of just what they're trotting out there these days. Commanders kind of just getting this kind of schedule. But, their offense is fun and interesting. The defense is doing enough, getting some pass rush, but we'll see as their schedule picks up at the end of the year. All right, we're going to take our last break and then get into what was a slop watch classic and then our game balls for week 15. All right, we are back. And this was a doozy. We're calling it a Sunday slop watch classic. We had the Bengals beat the Titans 37-27. The pride and joy of Zach Taylor and his coaching tree on display in this game today. Wow. Will Levis 8-12, 3 picks, a fumble lost, who was benched for Mason Rudolph, who did better, also had a pick. Joe Burrow had 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions himself. Chase Brown went off. 97 rushing yards, 1 or 2 total touchdowns, I should say. Jamar Chase did not get 100, but got 9 catches for 94 yards. T. Higgins had a touchdown and 88 yards. Overall in this game, I got some stats on this one.
Dude,
I got some stats on this one. 26 total penalties. It's so ugly. 26 total penalties, 223 total penalty yards, 10 total turnovers. And according Derek Klassen threw this into the group chat, I did not double check it, so I'm just basing it off him. Most turnovers in a game since 2007. Just a classic going on in Tennessee today. What were your thoughts on this one, Charles? How many did this get both eyeballs for a while?
It did for a little bit. Only because I was like, what the hell is happening in this game? Okay, so I'm gonna read you some stats I think are pretty funny when you think about how they stick together for the Titans offense. They had a success rate of 54.8%. They had a passing success rate of 64% today against the Bengals. They had an EPA per play of negative 0.06. They had a higher percent of plays that went for a first down or touchdown than the Bengals. They had a lower pressure rate, same sack rate, but they also had a turnover on 54.5% of their drives today. Like, how do you have? How's your success rate? Like, we played great. We played great today. We were moving the ball pretty well, except for all those times that we turned the ball over half of our drives. But if we weren't turning the ball over, we were probably scoring a touchdown, which is, that's something. It's something to say. 11. We said 11 total turnovers, 26 penalties, and you could feel every single one of them if you watched part of that game today. That was a goddamn mess.
It was. I rewatched it. We got some Jeffrey Simmons at fullback. Which team he hit was anybody's guess. Sometimes it was his own teammate. Sometimes it was the other team. Sometimes it was I think he got a ref in there on one of them.
Oh yeah,
because they just kept spamming him. Yeah. So yeah, Jeffrey Simmons. We got some fullback snaps out of him. Oh man, I'm just even looking at the classic coaching adage: when you throw the ball, there are only three things can happen, and 2 out of 3 are bad. Like that's how it felt for the Titans today. It was just there's that bad thing again. I told you. Like it felt like a 1965 passing attack. Let's let's throw an interception. Let's see what happens. See how it goes. My God, Josh Wiley, their tight end for the Titans, actually caught a touchdown today. So I'll have to make sure to check that out. But yeah, this was just a sloppy game. It feels like every Bengals game is turning into this type of thing. They get really good stats, and Matt Harmon calls them a carnival team. That's just what they feel like. They are a carnival team at this point. Oh man,
that was the end of Will Levis, right? That was it for him.
They can't. It can't keep being this way. You can't be this too. It has to be some sustained success. They're a sneaky Sam Darnold team to me now. That's the fan fiction I'm going to start writing for the next few months.
I mean, look who's in the draft. It's
in the run. The roster's not bad for the Titans. Like there's a path there to viability. So I don't know. Yeah, but you just can't have that with Levis. It's just too much. Like every 2 good plays is followed by 5 that you have no idea what he's trying to do. So it's just, and he's older. If he was like 21 with barely any starts, I'd like Anthony Richardson, you give him some leeway. But it's like with this, it's just like you just can't. He's an older guy with starts and all that. So, all right, some time for some mouthwash. Let's give out some game balls.
Doctor, is he gonna make it?
I'm sorry, he's got that dog in him.
Charles, who are you giving out your game ball to for week 15?
I wanted to give it to Micah Parsons. And I feel like I kind of retroactively need to give it to him because we've talked so much about basically how cracked the Cowboys pass rush has been since he got back from injury. And not only that, but you could just see last week when they had just a horrible, horrible ending to the Bengals game. And he just kind of lost his mind and just ran off the field when the clock hit 000s. You can see how much like every snap means to him right now. Like he is losing his mind that they can't win more of these games. Even though, you got some extenuating circumstances. Dak's not playing. So that's a big drop off from Cooper. So I
Cooper's throwing the ball,
right? But I guess if Micah thinks if he's out there, we should be winning these games. Which that's why he's wired the way he is. But I think he had 2 sacks today. Felt like he was in the backfield like almost every passing play. He's been on absolute fire the past few weeks, and I think it's been kind of cool to see him he's trying to will the Cowboys defense to do good things, and it's honestly working a good amount of the time over the past few weeks. So we'll give him the game ball. I think he's been awesome lately.
Love that. Yeah, I think you even highlighted it last week when how much him and Joe Burrow were kind of going one-on-one. For an edge rusher and a quarterback, they were kind of going one-on-one with each other.
It was like 9 clips I think I had in that cut-up, which is pretty crazy.
That is. I know. But no, that's a great call. Parsons is just, love watching him play because he's not only so talented, like he plays every snap 150%. Like it's pretty cool to watch. So great shout out. Great game ball there. For a game that we didn't touch on, I'm giving out my game ball to Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback for the Titans. Oh my God, for the Texans. Stingley, though, he ended the game with an interception, which was just a really nice interception to close the game. Right before that, He had an interception from the slot where Tua left the ball a little bit inside. Stingley was in perfect position, turned around. Actually, I think he was surprised the ball hit him. He was like, oh, shoot, it's right here. But just great coverage, man coverage on Tyreek Hill, I think, on that play. Stingley was targeted 10 times today. He did allow 6 catches, but it was only for 30 yards. So 5 yards per catch, 3 yards per target. Like I said, finished with 2 picks. Derek Stingley Jr., I mean, he's going to be an all-pro this year. He should be. He has ascended to anyone that's paid attention to him from LSU days in the glimpses that we got there, it's like he has ascended to that level. Now he stays consistently healthy. So game ball, Derek Stingley Jr., fantastic player.
I remember when Stingley got to the league, I think people were a little surprised it didn't happen like overnight for him at the start. And I was like, guys, we were calling this guy Baby Rebus when he was 18 years old. All right,
he's also in cover 2 and Lovie Smith's defense. So
right. Like let's give it a second. Let's give it a second. Like I don't want to. We just watched him because I think he sat out a good chunk of that 30, maybe the whole third year. I don't remember, but still, like the first 2 years we watched, he was one of the best cornerbacks we've ever seen in college football. So he's arrived now. He's been awesome. And man, he's just a game changer when he's that locked in. It really just turns like the whole table for the defense. And Tua had nothing for him. I was surprised how often he kept going back over there because they were getting nothing out of those plays.
Yeah, the Texans had some real good stuff. They had another interception earlier to the safety. They disguised it. And I keep mixing up these Georgia defenders. So it's on me right now. But the back end safety, they inverted, or it was 2 invert. They were trying to make it look like man. It totally fooled Tua, where he just threw it right there. He thought he had the in breaker, and boom, there's the interception right over the middle. So Texas defense still doing awesome stuff, and offense, the run game's still not there, but they still got Stroud. He's still chucking it. So that's how the Texans came home with the win, and Derek Stingley coming home with the game ball from Football 301, at least one of them. So I am Nate Tice. We're wrapping up the 5th quarter today for Football 301. I'll be back Tuesday with Matt Harmon to do a little midweek show again. That is Charles McDonald. Where can they find you, Chuck?
You can find me on Twitter at Blue Sky 4 Verts, doing about to dive into a whole bunch of more writing this week. 4 verse columns, regular columns, the podcast. So I'm all over the website, all over the internet.
You are.
As far from the safety of my chair at home.
Mr. Internet. That's all it is. And Packers just scored again as we're wrapping up the show. 14-0 Packers over the Seahawks so far. Also, if you ever want to send in some mailbag questions, Football 301 mailbag at yahoosports.com, or leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, or Apple Podcasts. If you see that review and you leave a little comment, it's nice. You have a question there, it will jump to the line. We'll answer it on our Thursday show. It was a really fun one last Thursday that Charles and I answered. So send those questions. Emails are great, or leave those reviews. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us, like I said. Watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Brett and Stone behind the scenes. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed your Sunday. Back with the pod on Tuesday with Matt. Talk to you guys then.